Welcome to what just might become your newest passion, orchids. Of course, if you don't need any more passions, we've got a lot of pretty flowers here for you to look at, and you might even learn something. Orchids are not for the faint of heart. They will challenge and beguile you. They will grab you by your imagination, enchant you, and frustrate you no end. Of course, if you get angry at them, you can always eat them. Did you know that vanilla beans are the pods from an orchid plant? Oh yeah? All this and much more you can learn in Belmont, west of Charlotte, just above Lake Wylie, at the Daniel Stowe Botanical Gardens. When you get there, ask for the Orchid Conservatory.
Daniel Stowe is part of the local textile industry here, and in his lifetime he amassed a lot of different land purchases and pulled them all together. And as he aged, he wanted to really find something interesting to do with the land and have it preserved for the community. And so he decided to build a botanical garden.
Not everybody wakes up in the morning and decides to build a botanical garden. So he obviously was a big thinker. Loved nature, loved his land. He thought that the Carolinas, especially the Piedmont, was a really special place.
He traveled to Europe a lot and collected a lot of very eclectic things and was really inspired by European gardens. The plan was put together to build a world-class botanical garden. That was his vision.
Dan really enjoyed the process of the whole building the dream and the master plan, and really it was a great thing at the end of his life to participate in.
And while he was still living, the board decided to move forward with the conservatory. He did not get to see it completed.
It was really our first project after the garden was built. We have visitors from all 50 states and from all over the world. But I think one thing that may be different for us is that we really want the people that live in this area for this to be part of their overall lifestyle, not just to come one time in the spring to see the bulbs blooming or just to come to see the lights during the holidays. We want them to come a lot. It's an incredibly beautiful place.
But the stars of our show are the orchids.
Orchids is the largest family of flowering plants, and their range is just huge and interesting. Orchids were considered rare and valuable, and in the Victorian times, they were really sought after as a collectible.
In time, this concentrated decadence led to a generally recognized pseudo-psychological condition called orchid delirium, a madness of sorts that swept through the upper crust over obtaining these rarest of rare plants. Little have you glimpsed passion, someone said, until gazing upon the devoted orchid hunter. Only the orchid could play leading lady to all this drama. Even Charles Darwin was said to have fallen under the orchid blossom spell. He worked out the constancy of species through study of the fertilization of British orchids.
The interesting thing about orchids is they are all related, and it was Darwin that first figured that out. So he started seeing the similarities and looking at how you can have something that's so very closely related but growing in so many different places. Anywhere that you can grow a plant, you can grow an orchid in the wild. And even here in the Carolinas, we have native orchids that grow here.
But what about in my house, on my back porch? In the conservatory, they have perfectly timed machines to keep the humidity and temperature just right, and the light exquisitely controlled. Do you and I even have a prayer of keeping these exotic epiphytes alive here in our state? We'll see.
Many of the orchids are in tropical environments, which tropical means frost-free, not necessarily warm. And there also tends to be a lot more vegetation. So to be competitive, the orchids can grow higher up on the trees, and so they can capture the moisture and the light. Epiphytes means air plants, and so they grow on things. They don't necessarily grow in soil. So they like their roots nice and loose and out in the air so they can capture the nutrients from the air. So here, all of our orchids are displayed either on other plants or in containers. So that allows us to have flowering orchids all the time.
Kara and Mary Duke, who tends orchids in the conservatory's growing center, both like happy orchids, from the roots up.
This one here also has new roots
Oh yeah,
growing on it.
yeah.
And look at these beautiful
good.
roots.
Brand new happy roots.
Yeah. And orchids, they're kind of in a cyclic, dry, and then wet environment. The roots like to dry out, because if they don't, then they're going to start rotting. So that's why we're potting this in rock.
The idea here is to actually divide one orchid plant into two.
Sometimes it's easier just to cut before you remove all the medium. We'll quick that way. All right, Kara. Time to rip them apart.
Excellent.
Got 2 plants now.
It only looks painful. Maybe this one is relieved at getting some fresh breathing space. From here, it's simply a matter of trimming the roots, finding just the right pot, adding medium, some peanuts to help drainage, and
All right, we're
I think
good.
we got it.
Good.
Nice, happy, orchid.
Happy Cattleya. Thanks.
but truly, can we do this at home?
If you'd like to grow your own orchid at home, have a lot of patience. I think that's our number one advice. And that's the same with any plant. You have to find the right place for it. You have to find the right watering amount, the right growing conditions. Most people overwater and probably have a little bit too much light. They like filtered light in general.
If you'd rather not jump into your own brand of home-brewed orchid madness, then perhaps you'd enjoy coming here to sample theirs.
And each year now we have Orchid Spectacular in January, February, and March. And this is a time when we truly have the most orchids in flower at the same time. We really want to try to be a place where people can learn more.
So there are no more excuses for us orchid do-it-yourselfers. Either hop on down to your nearest shop and pick yourself out an orchid, or take a drive to Belmont some fine Carolina day and experience their Orchid Spectacular. Either way, your new passion is waiting.